This is not a rumor. It has been proven by many major scientific studies around the world. And if I told you that the secret to longevity doesn't lie in supplements, doesn't lie in the gym, but lies right inside your home, in the person you choose to live with every day, would you believe it? Let me tell you the story of Walter, now 92 years old. He once told me, "The secret to my long life is not a special diet or strict exercise routine. It's the 55 years I've lived with my wife, Mary." They married when he was just in his early 20s, and together they went through countless challenges, from financial struggles to illness. Mary passed away when Walter was 80, but he insists that it was those years with her that kept his heart strong and his spirit optimistic. Science also confirms this. Studies show that couples in happy marriages have about a 30% lower risk of heart disease compared to those who are lonely or living in stressful relationships. A life partner doesn't just bring love. They bring companionship, care, and most importantly, peace of mind, the priceless medicine for the heart in old age. I want you to imagine this. After 70, each morning when you wake up, having someone there to share a cup of tea, to ask about your health, to exchange little stories of the day, that is not a luxury. That is the true nourishment for longevity. But I must also warn you, not every relationship brings benefits. A stressful marriage, full of conflict, can be more harmful to your health than living alone. That's why the important thing is not just who you live with, but living with the one who makes you feel at peace. If you're hearing this now and you agree that love and companionship matter more than medicine, leave a comment with the number 1. But if you think health and longevity can exist independently of relationships, type the number 0. I would truly love to hear your thoughts. And now, perhaps you are asking yourself, what if I no longer have a life partner? What if I live alone? What happens then? Don't worry, because there is another choice, a choice many older adults in America are turning to. After 70, when they no longer have their spouse beside them, many think immediately of living with their children and grandchildren. And indeed, the image of a grandparent surrounded by the laughter of children, the warmth of family meals, truly is a priceless gift for the spirit. But does this choice actually extend longevity the way we think? I will never forget the story of Dorothy, 85, living in Ohio. After her husband passed away, she moved in with her daughter and 2 grandchildren. She once shared, "Every morning, hearing the little ones running around, eating dinner with the whole family, I feel young again. I no longer feel the loneliness I once felt living by myself." In reality, Dorothy has maintained very good health, an optimistic spirit, and her doctor believes it is precisely the family connection that has helped her avoid depression, sleep better, and stay motivated to care for herself. Science also provides an answer for this. A Harvard study found that older adults who maintain close family ties tend to live longer, with up to a 23% lower risk of early death. The reason is that social connection, the feeling of belonging, reduces stress, one of the most dangerous enemies of both the heart and the brain. But I must be honest. Living with children and grandchildren is not always paradise. Some grandparents complain that they feel dependent or that generational conflicts create stress. Others worry about becoming a burden. And in reality, without mutual understanding and respect, living together can create hidden tensions, something fragile older bodies cannot endure for long. So the lesson here is not that you must live with your children and grandchildren, but that you must find balance. If the family relationship is harmonious, if children respect your personal space, then it can be a wonderful choice. But if conflicts are too frequent, living together may not be the solution. Sometimes, just the right distance helps love stay stronger. If you're watching this and agree that family can be the best medicine for mental health, leave a comment with the number 2. And if you face challenges living with your children and grandchildren, share your story too, because your experience may help someone else. So, if you don't have a life partner and living with your children isn't possible or desirable, is there another option? The truth is, yes, and it's a growing trend in modern society, especially in the U.S. That is, living with friends of the same age. If you no longer have a spouse, and living with children brings more conflict than joy, there is another choice many seniors in America are turning to: living with peers. Imagine this. Each morning you wake up, not in an empty house, not in the middle of generational arguments, but in a home filled with laughter from friends your own age. Some make coffee together, some head to the garden to plant vegetables, and in the afternoon, they sit down to play cards or watch an old movie. No generational gap, no feeling of being left behind, just harmony and shared companionship. I once met Richard, 78, in Florida. After his divorce and many years of living alone, he decided to move in with two friends his age. He told me, "The best part isn't that we help each other clean the house or do the shopping, it's the understanding. When I'm tired, they know to stay quiet. When I'm happy, they share it with me. We all understand each other because we've gone through the same pains of old age." And it was this companionship that helped him avoid depression, which is so common among seniors who live alone. Science also shows this benefit. A study by AARP revealed that older adults with close friendships and daily social interaction are less likely to develop Alzheimer's, and they live longer on average than those who are lonely. Friends are not only a source of joy, they are a mental shield against memory decline and illness. However, just like any choice, living with friends comes with challenges. Not all friends will always get along, and sometimes small conflicts about money, lifestyle habits, or health issues can turn into big problems. I have witnessed groups of friends drift apart over minor disagreements, and that kind of heartbreak can hurt even more than living alone. So, if you want to choose this way of living, you need to find friends who truly fit, not only in personality, but also in lifestyle and values. A true companion will feel like the family you choose. If you're watching this video and believe that friends are your second family, leave the number 3 in the comments. I believe someone out there may be looking for encouragement, and your comment could be the inspiration they need. But there is another option, increasingly popular among older adults, because it combines independence with medical support, and that is living in retirement communities or senior housing. And these are also the places that hold longevity secrets few people know. When people hear the words nursing home, they often feel fear or sadness. Some think it means loneliness, being abandoned by their children. But in reality, today's senior communities have changed a great deal, and sometimes they actually become the longevity secret for many elders. I remember the story of Eleanor, 90, in Texas. She had lived alone after her husband passed away, with her children all far away. Each day was a repetition of silence and longing. After one fall in the bathroom, she decided to move into a senior community. She told me, "I never thought at this age I could find new joy. Here, every morning I have someone to exercise with, someone to chat with at dinner, and in the evenings there are dance classes, painting workshops. I haven't laughed this much since my husband died." Science also supports this. Many surveys show that older adults living in communities designed for seniors tend to have better mental health, feel less lonely, and are even less likely to suffer from depression compared to those living alone. A report from the National Institute on Aging emphasized that social connections and organized activities in senior communities help extend lifespan and reduce the risk of dementia. However, this option also has its downsides. Leaving behind a familiar home you've lived in your whole life is never easy. Some feel they've lost privacy or struggle to adapt to an environment with many shared rules. And of course, cost is a major factor. Not everyone can afford higher-end communities. The important thing to understand is that living in a nursing home does not mean losing your independence. On the contrary, many places help you live more actively thanks to 24/7 medical services, proper nutrition, and a safe environment. It is like a village for old age, where you can still live fully without the fear of the risks of being alone. If you're watching and think this might be a good choice for you in the future, leave the number 4 in the comments. I believe your sharing will give others the courage to think more openly about this way of living. And yet, not everyone wants to share their living space with many others, whether friends or a community. Some elders, having lived a lifetime with freedom and a love for quiet, choose another path, living completely on their own. It may sound frightening, but in reality, it holds special lessons. Of all the options after 70, living alone may be both the scariest and the freest. Some do not want to trouble their children, nor do they feel comfortable in communal living. They choose the silence of their familiar home, filled with the memories of a lifetime. I remember Harold, 92, who had once been a literature teacher in California. After his wife passed, and his children married and moved away, he chose to remain in his old house, where he had lived for over 50 years. He said, "This house feels like a part of my body. I don't want to leave it. Every book, every picture on the wall tells a chapter of my life." In truth, living alone is not necessarily negative. For many, it brings freedom, no dependence, no need to adjust to someone else's rhythm of life. Some studies show that when older adults maintain the ability to care for themselves, cooking, cleaning, managing their own schedules, they preserve mental clarity and independence longer. This sense of autonomy helps them feel they are still living, not just existing. But along with that freedom comes serious risks. Living alone means that when a crisis strikes, a sudden heart attack, an unexpected fall, there may be no one nearby to help in time. Studies from the Journal of Aging and Health warn that older adults living alone face higher risks of household accidents and even death due to delayed emergency response. In addition, loneliness itself can become a silent disease, slowly eating away at both mental and physical health. That is why, if you choose to live alone, the important thing is to have safeguards. Install an emergency alert system, maintain regular health checkups, and above all, keep social connections through phone calls, community groups, or church. Harold once shared that every afternoon, he would call an old friend just to check in. He said, "Just hearing a familiar voice reminds me that I am still connected to this world." Living alone can be a brave choice, but it requires preparation and discipline. And sometimes, it is this very preparation that determines whether it becomes a secret to longevity or not. If you're considering living alone after 70, leave the number 5 in the comments. I want to know what you think. Do you believe freedom is worth the price of loneliness? And now, after walking through all the options, living with a spouse, with children and grandchildren, with friends, in a community, or alone, there remains one final question that many still wonder. Is there truly one best formula for living arrangements after 70 that ensures longevity? The answer may surprise you. Perhaps after hearing all these stories, you realize one important truth. There is no single formula for who you should live with after 70. Some find happiness staying with their spouse until the very end. Some find peace surrounded by children and grandchildren. Others find joy in a community or among old friends. And still, there are those brave enough to choose solitude, facing loneliness while savoring freedom. Every choice has its price, but the important thing is not who you live with. It is whether you are truly living in alignment with your heart. Because after all, longevity is not measured only in years, but in the quality of each day you live, whether you have peace, love, connection, and a reason to smile each morning when you wake. I know that many of you still carry a quiet fear, the fear of living in loneliness, without a life partner by your side. And that is exactly what we will talk about in the next video. 9 lessons on love after 65, how I learned to embrace loneliness. Believe me, those lessons can change the way you look at love, at loss, and at how to move forward, stronger and more whole. So, if you want to understand how to turn loneliness into strength, Don't leave. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell right now so you won't miss that video. And before you go, leave me a comment. After 70, who would you want to live with? Your spouse, your children and grandchildren, your friends, or alone? I truly want to hear your answer. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. We will meet again on the next journey, where love, loss, and hope intertwine, and where you may discover a new strength within your own heart.